Secretary Rubio, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. You're speaking to a global audience across Al Jazeera English, Al Jazeera Arabic, and our digital platforms, reaching viewers across the Middle East, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and Iran, as well as millions more around the world.
I think, and I always say this before every interview that news does, always note who is the speaker, where they're coming from when they're speaking. Like obviously like what country they're coming from and stuff like that, what their position is, what is their reason for appearing on this particular news network. Why would Marco Rubio, in an administration that is very Islamophobic, in an administration that is actively committing an active genocide in Gaza and damn near, it's boiling to those levels in Iran and even in Lebanon, why would he want to speak to Al Jazeera? It's because of the audiences that the interviewer just mentioned, the audiences in Bahrain, the audiences in Dubai, in UAE, and a lot of the Middle Eastern countries that are aligned with the United States. This is for them. This is to reassure them.
Let me start by asking you this. Have formal talks begun with Iran, or are they still in direct communications, exploring common ground?
Well, there's messages and some direct talks going on between some inside of Iran and the United States, primarily through intermediaries, but there's been some conversation. And I think the president always prefers diplomacy, always prefers an outcome. And we could have done this before. I mean, imagine...
Bullshit lie number one, president always prefers diplomacy. Donald Trump couldn't even spell diplomacy if it was written out for him in a fucking picture book right next to Jeffrey Epstein and a picture of an 8-year-old girl.
An Iranian regime who, instead of spending billions of dollars supporting terrorist groups and building up all these weapons, had invested that money into Iran, for the people of Iran, so they wouldn't have water shortages, so their economies would provide opportunities for an incredible people. The people of Iran are incredible people, very resourceful.
If the people of Iran are incredible people, why are you massacring them? Why are you bombing schools full of girls? Why are you bombing bridges that aren't even open yet?
Very entrepreneurial, but it's their regime that's been a problem. And instead, they've chosen to spend the wealth of their country to support Hezbollah and Hamas and Shia militia.
And I'm sorry, there's going to be frequent pausing because I cannot stand when any of the Trump admin officials just spew bullshit out of the holes in their neck. But it is very funny how you can kind of clock. Once you clock that a lot of the things that United States and Israel say is just projection about the things that are going on within their own countries, it gets much easier to see through the bullshit. Because you can say the same thing about the American people. Very ingenious, very creative, very hardworking, great people. But the regime in charge, they choose to support state-sponsored terrorists. And that would be the state of Israel.
Inside of Iraq and to try to destabilize Syria when Assad was there, and all over the world to sponsor terrorist plots and build these drones and build these weapons to threaten their neighbors unnecessarily. So we would always welcome a scenario in which Iran was led by people that had a different view of the future and had a different view. And if that opportunity presents itself, we're going to take it.
What are your main demands for Iran at this particular stage of the war?
Iran can never, the Iranian regime can never have nuclear weapons. And they need to stop sponsoring terrorism. And they need to stop building weapons that can threaten their neighbors. These short-range missiles that they're launching, they only have one purpose, and that is to attack Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Qatar and Kuwait and Bahrain. That is the range of these weapons. And they have thousands of them. They've built extraordinary numbers.
Which goes to show that the argument that Iran poses a threat to the United States is kind of bullshit, because if they only have short-range missiles, how are they going to attack the United States borders?
Of them, and not to mention, their desire to have this nuclear weapon to threaten and blackmail the world with. That will never be allowed to happen. It's too great a risk.
What would you consider to be the minimum concession from Tehran to bring this conflict to an end?
I think they have to take demonstrable steps towards ending any ambition of having nuclear weapons. If what they want is nuclear energy, there are multiple countries in the region that have or will soon have nuclear energy, and they're going to do it through a well-established mechanism that everyone else has agreed.
Can you name any of those countries? That would have been my follow-up question. Please, Marco, continue.
To, and that is that you allow imported fuel you import the fuel, and that fuel is used to.
Considering that Iran was already complying with inspections from the IAEA. I always fuck that shit up. And the IAEA could not find any evidence that Iran was building nuclear power for weaponry.
To power up your power grid and provide energy resources for your people. What they cannot have is a system that allows them to quickly weaponize it. They have to stop making all of these drones and all of these missiles. We saw recently where they've lied. They said they didn't have long-range missiles, and then they fired 2 that extended well beyond the range of what their own foreign minister just a few days earlier said they didn't have the range to reach. So they have to abandon all these weapon programs and all of their nuclear ambitions. And if they do that, then Iran's future can be bright. But they have to choose that path, and for 47 years they've refused that path.
Yep, and then here's the next repeated talking point: Iran for 47 years, and it's so funny how they use a specific number. Iran for 47 years has been ever since the Arab Revolution fucking shit up, but America since World War II, since perpetuity, has not been fucking shit up. We are the golden goose of the world. Yeah, give me a fucking break.
Iran said it rejects the US demands.
And the reason why I want to note that 47-year thing is that we are going to take a look at another interview that Al Jazeera did later on. I think I watched it yesterday with an Israeli ambassador for I forgot which country. And it's just funny how they roll out these new talking points. It's like they have a meeting every week and it's like a packet. It's like, all right, guys, the Hasbara talking points this week will be Iran, 47-year state sponsor of terrorism. If they spend more money on their own people, they would be better. Iran is not going to have nukes. And then just keep hammering that over and over and over and over and over again on every single news network, on every single tweet, on every single Facebook post.
They're setting its own conditions, such as the financial compensation and also recognition of its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Are those demands acceptable from an American perspective?
Not only is the sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz not acceptable to us, it won't be acceptable to the world. No one in the world can accept it. Number one, it sets an incredible precedent. So this means that nations can now take over international waterways and claim them as their own. The United States could do that now.
This was I was like in the middle of doing something else and I had this interview on in the background, and this was like the first thing that I really caught, because the first thing that came to mind for me was, didn't Donald Trump want to take over the Panama Canal? Wasn't that an idea that was being floated around? So yes, Marco, the United States actually does believe that it can control waterways. It renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and that's not it taking ownership per se, but that's it doing it symbolically, right? I would not be surprised if the United States tried to secure the Panama Canal in its quest for regional dominance.
The Chinese could do it in the South China Sea. No one in the world is going to accept that or should accept that. Now, let me be frank, very little of American energy comes through the Straits of Hormuz in terms of the energy we rely on, but we recognize the impact that it has on global markets and on our neighbors, especially our allies in the region who produce energy and have to get it out to market. So no country in the world should accept it. The regional countries in the world should accept it. The United States will not accept that condition. It's an illegal condition that they're demanding. That's just not going to happen.
As the US-Israeli campaign continues, there's no clear indication that the Strait of Hormuz is secure enough to restart the flow of oil and gas into global markets. Are you consider a plan to ensure full control over the entire strait?
Well, the Straits of Hormuz will be open. When this operation is over, it will be open, and it'll be open one way or another. It will be open because Iran agrees to abide by international law and not block a commercial waterway, or a coalition of nations from around the world and the region with the participation of the United States.
Will the United States participate in international law and stop bombing civilians? Then I don't think the Strait of Hormuz is going to be opened up anytime soon.
The States will make sure that it's open. One way or the other, it's going to be open. But we have very clear objectives that we're trying to achieve here. Those objectives are the destruction of their Air Force, which has been achieved, the destruction of their Navy, which has largely been achieved, a significant reduction in the number of missile launchers that they have, which we're well on our way to achieving, and we are going to destroy the factories that make those missiles and those drones that they are using to attack their neighbors and the United States and our presence in the region. We will achieve those objectives. We are well on our way, or ahead of schedule. We will achieve them in weeks, not months. and then we'll be confronted with this issue of the Straits of Hormuz, and it'll be up to Iran to decide. And if they choose to try to block the straits, then they will have to face real consequences, not just from the United States, but from regional
They're currently blocking it right now. They are currently doing that right now.
countries and from the world.
Your regional allies in the region, the critical energy installations are being bombed, their cities bombed.
Yeah, not their civilian infrastructure, which is what the United States and Israel is doing, and Iran bombing desalination plants. Desalination? Am I saying that correctly? I always get it fucked up. Bombing their water supply, okay? Bombing bridges, bombing, again, like I said, schools full of children.
Almost on a daily basis. And they're looking for...
Meanwhile, Iran's response is to bomb Amazon data centers, to bomb gas and natural gas and oil fields.
a clear path back to stability. What would be your message?
U.S. Army bases in the region, but not targeting the military families, the families and of leaders in America the way the U.S. and Israel have targeted Iranian officials.
To that.
Well, I think the best way to stability, given the people who are in charge in Iran, is to destroy the ability of Iran in the future to launch these missiles and these drones against their infrastructure and civilian populations. If you think about what they've struck in the region, what has Iran gone after? It's been energy infrastructure against countries that were not waging war against them, but yet they went after these countries nonetheless.
Countries that allowed the United States to use their airspace, to use their bases as launching points for the attack on Iran. So, and Iran made that very clear, that if the airspaces for these countries were closed off to the aggressor, they wouldn't catch the smoke.
This is why they built.
But when you want to dance with the devil, this is what you get.
Missiles and drones in the first place, but they've also attacked embassies, diplomatic facilities, which is unheard of. They've attacked airports, which is unheard of. This is what they've
Oh, that's unheard of? Oh, that's unheard of. Okay.
done. And this is a weakened Iran.
What did you attack, Marco? Can we go over the things that you and Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump have authorized?
This is an Iran.
Double tap strikes where they bomb, let's say they bomb a school. They bomb a school. The first responders go there to the scene to get people out the rubble, triage, all that shit, get people out. Then they bomb the people who were rescuing the people who just got bombed, which is also a war crime. And they keep doing this. This isn't just a one-off thing.
That's weaker than it's been in 10 years. Imagine 5 years from now or 3 years from now when they had more missiles, more drones, what they would have been willing to do to their neighbors and to us. That was intolerable. That's why this needed to be done now. The United States is committed to finishing the job. We're working very closely with all of our allies, work very closely in defensive. Yes, unfortunately, drones and missiles get through from time to time, but the overwhelming majority of these launches are defeated. They're shot down before they reach their intent.
Are they though? Are they though? We got 13 dead U.S. soldiers so far confirmed. The number has to be more. We have millions, potentially billions of dollars in military equipment destroyed. How many fucking fighter jets shot out of the sky? How many? How many's too many, Marco? How many planes have been destroyed on the tarmac?
The target or the destruction would be far worse.
We're
These
winning,
are strong,
so
stable
much winning.
countries in the region. These are our allies.
They're
These are our
begging like a
friends.
dog.
And we are going to continue to be there and support them as they face this onslaught. And by the way, they're not the ones. Iran is targeting them in retribution, which tells you the nature of the people we're dealing with, unfortunately.
Yes,
But it seems
the nature of these savages that we're dealing with. Us, the mighty United States, we would never stoop to vengeance or not even vengeance, because it just makes sense. Why would, for Iran, from Iran's perspective, why would you try and attack the American homeland directly instead of impacting the entire global market and forcing America's allies to realize that America does not have their fucking best interests at heart. America has Israel's best interest at heart. The American people got nothing to do with that. And I appreciate the IRGC for being cool with the American people, at least, and they're putting out Lego videos, bro, for us in English. So they're for us. They're rapping in English. It kind of sounds like Macklemore, but IRGC got no smoke for the American people. They got smoke for that goofy on the right and his goofy ass orange boss.
that the Strait of Hormuz is not going to.
That tells you the nature, the fact that this shit even started because Israel has Epstein blackmail on Donald Trump goes to show you the nature of the people that are waging this attack.
To be the only focal point for you, because with the Houthis stepping in and firing missiles into Israel,
damn it,
Bab
it's
el-Mandeb and the Red Sea could become issues that you will have to reconsider.
It could, and look, that's been an ongoing issue. And when they did that, the United States took action against it as well. And many of our regional allies have had to do so in the past. It's the desire, whether it's the Houthis on one side or Iran on the other, to close these international waterways and create a toll road where basically you have to ask for their permission in order to use them and get your products in or out of market. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to us, but it should be unacceptable to the world. And I think it's important, and I'm glad to see the effort Bahrain is leading in the United Nations, which we've been very supportive of, to get an international coalition that says we will not accept a world and where either the Iranians on one side or the Houthis on the other get to control international waterways and impede the free flow of goods from nation states. That's just not something we're going to accept, neither should the world.
Do you have any issues with Mujtaba Khamenei staying in power once this is over and the IRGC continuing to play the crucial role it plays now?
Well, let me say, first of all, we don't even know if he's in power. I know they say he's in power. No one has seen him. No one has heard from him. It's very opaque right now. It's not quite clear how decisions are being made inside of Iran. But our objectives here from the very beginning
so you have bad
nothing
intel.
to do with the leadership. Would we love to see a difference? Would we?
But that shit doesn't make any sense to me, because how is it that you're having active negotiations but you don't even know who's in charge of the fucking country?
Do we think the people of Iran deserve better leadership than what they've gotten from the clerical regime? 100%. Would we be heartbroken if there was a change in leadership? Absolutely not. If there's something we could do to facilitate that, would we be interested in participating? Of course. But that was not the objective of this operation. The objective of this operation was, which I outlined now and the president outlined clearly on the first night.
It was regime change.
The destruction of their Air Force, which we've achieved.
No nukes.
The destruction of their Navy, which we've largely achieved. The destruction of their factories, which we are well on our way to achieving, meaning factories that make these weapons, and significantly reducing the number of missile launchers that they have so they can't continue to threaten their neighbors and America. Those were our objectives.
You forgot the nukes, Marco. You see how these objectives keep changing? If the objectives are clear, they should never change. You got your list of short items, right? Or short list of items. You have supposed to be no nukes, supposed to be regime change, because you don't want no Ayatollah, and it's supposed to be disarmament of their missile program and drone program. And I also picked a great frame to freeze him on, by the way. Just beautiful. But yeah, the checklist of objectives with this dumbass war keeps shifting because there are no real objectives. They are doing whatever the fuck Israel says.
That's
Israel says jump, America says yes, daddy, how high?
what we're focused on, and that's what we are well on our way towards achieving.
Are you fully aligned with the Israelis when it comes to the objectives and the end game?
No, they're not.
Well, they have a different objective in terms of they are focused.
Israel's objective is very clearly regime change. They are trying to decimate. They think that by decimating the Iranian IRGC structure, it will cause the government to collapse. We're on week 5, buddy. Shit hasn't happened yet. So, if anything, it's actually hardened the resolve of the Iranian people. And I'm not going to say boosted support for the IRGC. I have zero evidence of that. But I would say, from a perspective from me as an American, if a foreign power came in, let's flip the table. If the IRGC bombed America because Donald Trump is justifiably being not. I use words funny, so you're going to give me a second to formulate these thoughts. If the IRGC came and assassinated Donald Trump, and they claimed they were doing it because Donald Trump was abusing the people of America, if they claim that they did it because Donald Trump was, infringing on the rights of Americans, all this other stuff, that would not, no one would, I don't think Americans, and myself in particular, I don't think, while yes, the short term of not being abused and everything is really good by the leader, having a foreign power dictate that for you instead of you fighting for your freedoms on your own, it's two very different things. No one's ever going to go look at the foreign power and be like, wow, thank you so much for coming in when no one asked you to and destroying everything. in your destruction of everything, you did take out the one bad guy that was kind of fucking shit up for us. No one's ever going to be like, wow, thank you, big power. No, they're going to be fearful of you because they see you for what you are, and that is terrorist. Plain and simple.
Focused on the mid-range missiles in the northern part of Iran that target them. And obviously we coordinate and deconflict with them in terms of our operations. But what they are focused on is different. We're not critical of it. Those things are threats to them. Those mid-range missiles that Iran launches that reach into Israel, those are threats that they're facing. They're also facing a threat from Hasbara, which they're confronting as well. So they have their own objectives. We deconflict so that our objectives and theirs don't run into each other. But the president has, for the United States of America, has established a very clear mission, which we're executing on, and we will achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks.
Do you believe the EU and NATO countries betrayed the US at this crucial moment?
I think it was very disappointing. You have this, and again, look, the president and our country will have to re-examine all of this after this operation is over. But one of the reasons why NATO is beneficial to the United States is it gives us basing rights for contingencies. It allows us to station troops and aircraft and
What kind of contingencies do you need, are you planning when you have a base in almost every single country on this goddamn planet? You think everybody's going to fight you? You think the whole world is going to unite against the United States? If you are a big enough villain, they might. And we're damn near getting there.
And weapons and in parts of the world that we would normally have bases. And that includes in much of Europe. And to see that in a time of need, the United States has identified a grave risk to our national security and our national interests, and we needed to conduct this operation. And we have countries like Spain, a NATO member, that we are pledged to defend, denying us the use of their airspace and bragging about it, denying us the use of our...
Yeah, because they don't want to be involved in your war crimes, bro. They're not stupid. The government of Spain is not stupid the way you think the American people are stupid. They know that if this were to ever come back and come back to an investigation for international war crimes, that they might be implicated for allowing that shit to happen, for allowing the United States through their airspace.
Of their bases. And there are other countries that have done...
And also, to not be a fucking target. I don't know if Iran has missile... I don't have a map of the world in my head right now. I don't think Iran has missiles that can reach Spain. I don't know if it would be a similar situation where with like Bahrain and the UAE and stuff like that, where by allowing the US to use their airspace, Iran, bombed them in retaliation. But oh shit, if the United States is committing war crimes, I want nothing to do with that.
That as well. And so you ask yourself, well, what is in it for the United States? And I've been a big supporter of NATO. And one of the reasons why I've been a supporter of NATO is because I believe that these basing rights give us leverage and give us flexibility and operational capability.
Does any other country have a military base in America? I don't think so.
All over the world. But if NATO is just about us defending Europe if they're attacked, but them denying us basing rights when we need them, that's not a very good arrangement. That's a hard one to stay engaged in and say this is good for the United States. So all of them's going to have to be re-examined. All of it's going to have to be re-examined.
I've recently spent some time in Europe, and basically what they say is that it's the US which is sending confusing messages to us. It's the US which is planning to disengage from Europe. It's the US which doesn't seem to be really willing to team up with NATO when it comes to moving forward in Europe. And this explains the reason why we have been very cautious dealing with the Americans when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz in particular.
Well, if that's what someone in Europe told you, that person's very disingenuous, because the United States has tens of thousands of troops stationed throughout that region, billions of dollars of weaponry staged throughout Europe. All of it there to defend Europe, not to defend America, to defend Europe from attack. Okay, all over. The United States is without the United States, there is no NATO. I mean, everyone recognizes that, including NATO. If we decided tomorrow that we were going to remove our troops from Europe, that would be the end of NATO.
Bye, Felicia.
So they know that. And that commitment, that we haven't moved troops.
I'm like, in this day and age, you're telling me most of the countries that are in NATO don't have the military capabilities to defend themselves? I'm just saying, I'm not the smartest guy, especially not when it comes to military tactics and all that shit. If you're tuning in to this channel for that, you're in the wrong space here, okay? But in the year of our Lord 2026, I feel like most countries nowadays that are in the, we'll call, let's say the global north, should be able to defend themselves.
out of NATO. So anyone who said that's not being honest or is not, I think they're playing games. At the end of the day, it's very simple. NATO is a alliance, and an alliance means has to be mutually beneficial. It cannot be a one-way street. Let's hope we can fix it. We'll have time to address it after. Right now, we're focused on this operation.
Let's move on to something else. I would like to talk to you about Venezuela after the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Could you tell us more about your plans for Venezuela in the future?
I think it's moving along very well. We said it from the very first day after that operation happened. I said our hope is, number one, to stabilize the country. We didn't want to see civil war. We didn't want to see systemic collapse. We didn't want to see a mass migration event. You've seen none of these things. What you've seen is that for the first time in decades, Venezuela is now selling their oil in the global market at full market price, and the money is coming back to Venezuela and being spent for the benefit of the Venezuelan people.
I thought the money was being rerouted back into Donald Trump's bank account in Qatar. Wasn't that the thing that he got, like, we had like $300 million in a Qatari bank account, offshore bank account?
Spent to buy medical goods and equipment. It's being spent to cover the salaries of teachers and police officers and civil servants and people that sanitation workers and things of this nature. So it's a very important part. The second phase, after the stabilization occurs, or concurrent with the stabilization, is a period of recovery in which you try to recover the elements of the country that allow it to prosper and grow, and that is attracting businesses back, creating the kind of stability that bring businesses back. We're seeing that begin to happen. But you're also seeing civil life come back to life. Independent media is now allowed to operate. Political prisoners have been released. Political parties are forming again. People are speaking and participating in public life. And finally, you want to see a full transition, because in order for Venezuela to fulfill its economic potential, it has to have a stable democratic government that people are willing to invest in that economy because they know that they're protected by laws and courts and legitimacy. So we are well on our way to achieving this. A lot of credit goes to the interim authorities who have assumed this responsibility. We've reopened our embassy. We enter in dialogue with them every single day. We feel very positive about it.
Many assume Washington will focus on Cuba next once the war is over in the Middle East. What kind of decisions or policy would you would like to see in place for potential regime change?
Yeah, look, we don't need anything from Cuba, to be honest with you. I mean, Cuba needs from us. We don't need from Cuba. What I mean by Cuba, I mean it's their regime. The problem Cuba has, it's a very fundamental problem, and they need to understand it, and we've tried to explain it to anyone who will listen. Their system doesn't work.
Who is they? Who have you been talking to? Who have you been talking to, Marco? Because I can tell you one thing that doesn't work. Blockading a country that's struggling. That doesn't really seem to, regardless of what's going on internally with that country, with its politics, with its government, I don't think blockading them and limiting the economy of that government is a good idea.
Their system of economics, I can't even describe it, but it's completely dysfunctional. It's just not a real system. And you can't change it unless you change the government. As an example, a week ago they said, well, Cuban Americans can now invest on the island. Invest in what? Invest in a country that has arbitrary laws, no established system of courts and justice. Who's going to invest in something like that? You also can't have economic prosperity without some significant level of political freedom. If I'm going to participate in the economic life of a country and I don't like the regulations or the rules that government is putting in place that are hampering me, I have to have the ability to complain about that. And in that country, you can't complain about that or you'll be put in jail. So I think Cuba needs to make, and if Cuba really wants to emerge from the hole they've put themselves in, meaning the regime has put them in, they really need to undertake very serious reforms of both their government and of their economy. And if they're willing to do so, we're going to help them. We've done nothing punitive against the Cuban regime. They claim we have, but we haven't.
There's a blockade. There is a blockade. What the fuck do you mean there's nothing punitive?
The only thing that's changed.
The island ran out of gas. You think the blackouts are for shits and giggles? Like,
to the Cuban regime is they're not getting free Venezuelan oil anymore. They're not getting subsidies anymore. That's the only thing that's changed. These blackouts that are occurring that I see people reporting have nothing to do with us. They were having blackouts last year. They're having blackouts because they have equipment from the 1950s in their grid that they've never maintained and never upgraded.
This was the other thing. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because he was shit talking on Cuba's power grid. And it's like, motherfucker, a bad snowstorm wipes out all the power in the state of Texas. Do we remember that? United States, golden country on the hill, utopia of the world. We have states, one of the largest states in our country, will be wiped out if Texas receives more than 6 inches of snow. We have rural areas in this country with power lines and poles and technology from the 1940s when it was installed. The New York City subway, hundreds of years old, crumbling infrastructure. All of our infrastructure, fuck it, talk about not even just New York City, all the infrastructure in America is crumbling and old and decrepit from the 1950s and 60s. Because everything is projection with this fucking regime.
They're incompetent. That's why they're having blackouts.
So, Adil, my last question, if you don't mind. Do you have any sense of clarity about when the war is going to be over in the Middle East?
The operation in Iran, as soon as we achieve our objective.
You see how quickly he changed the phrasing? Interviewer said the war. He was like, oh, you mean the operation in Iran? No, it's a war. Just because Congress hasn't authorized it, it's a war, buddy. Operations don't take 5 fucking weeks.
As I've outlined them repeatedly, and that is we've destroyed their Navy, we've destroyed their Air Force, we are well on our way to destroying the majority of their arms factories, and we're well on our way to significantly degrading their missile launchers. When those objectives are achieved, we will have achieved the purpose of this operation, and that's something that's not going to take months. That's a matter of weeks. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many weeks, but a matter of weeks. I'm not going to tell you how many weeks
because I don't know, because my boss has so I don't know why I'm doing a Trump voice for Marco Rubio, but I don't know how many weeks, but my boss loves kids, and Israel has lots of proof of that, so we're going to be at this for a while. I also wanted to find, it's in my drive. No, I actually downloaded it. Now, this was an interview by Danny Ayalon, or Avalon, that was given to Al Jazeera that I watched last night, and he, you know, as a former ambassador for Israel, obviously got to do the whole Hasbara. Israel is the goodest boy. Israel does no harm. But he was saying things, and I'm like, bro, did you have a one-on-one Marco Rubio before you both went on air and was just like, all right, this is exact. When like you get caught in a lie with your friend, and you're like, all right, bro, this is the story we're gonna tell, word for word. That's how you know this is a lie.
Is Israel's new death penalty law further entrenching apartheid? That conversation is coming up. But first, Israel continues its attacks in Iran and its ground invasion of southern Lebanon, with civilian casualties mounting and the targeted destruction of key civilian infrastructure ramping up. Is Israel trying to apply the Gaza playbook to Lebanon and Iran? I'll ask.
And I actually really liked this interviewer, because I was listening with this in the background, and she was asking him about, you know, Iran's weaponry. And of course, Israel's going to say, you know, we had a threat from Iran, a nuclear threat from Iran. And I was like, I hope to God she goes into, you know, the fact that Israel has a nuke program, and Israel has a philosophy of anonymity when it comes to its nuclear program. And then she actually did ask him about it, and she killed it. Her questions were, this is how you interview an Israeli official, former, current, whatever the case may be.
Israel's former deputy foreign
U.S.
minister,
News,
Danny
take
Ayalon.
notes. I apologize for the captions on the screen. I just realized.
Ayalon, welcome to Upfront.
Danny Ayalon.
Thank you very much, Rudy.
Thank you. So after more than a month of war, the Iranian government has not collapsed. It is still standing. U.S. intelligence assessments are telling us that it is unlikely to collapse anytime soon. Even your Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has conceded that regime change cannot happen via airstrikes. It must happen internally. Yet Israel continues to escalate its attacks, killing the very people it claims to help. What exactly is the point of this war?
Yes, well, really, best that I can tell, the idea was not immediate.
I was calling him the ambassador. That's my fault. He's a foreign deputy minister, so their former secretary of state.
To get rid of this murderous regime of the
They're Marco
Ayatollahs
Rubio.
in Tehran, but maybe to create the conditions. Whether it will happen in weeks or months, no one can tell. But the purpose of the airstrikes of Israel, and then I believe also of the United States, is actually to degrade Iran, to take out the capability that they have built of long-range missiles that now we are on the receiving end of it. By the way, not just Israel, it's the entire Gulf countries, it's even Turkey and even
But that's as a
Cyprus.
result. That's as a result of Israel's attack. And they were already at the negotiation table. So all the retaliatory attacks are happening because of Israel's attacks.
Exact. The very first thing he says, she has a perfect counter. This does not happen. Iran does not attack the Gulf states. If Israel never bombs first. Pure and simple. And that is a point that American media just cannot seem to read. It's by design, obviously, but are purposely not putting out for us to constantly remember. None of this happens. Gas doesn't go up to fucking $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 in this country. Prices for food and commodities don't go up. U.S. soldiers don't die if Israel does not attack first.
Well, unfortunately, we have been watching this Iranian regime since 1979, and we have seen that they
Why did he say 1979? 47 years! 47!
do not live up to their promises, not in the nuclear issues, that they did everything against their own commitments on the non-proliferation treaty, and
Which is bullshit because they were in compliance with the non-proliferation treaty.
also on the missiles. You know, we have heard them say time and again that they do not have missiles which are more than 1,000 or 1,500 kilometers. Only 2 weeks ago, really, they fired 2 ballistic missiles towards the island of Diego Garcia in the Indian Pacific.
Which the IRGC did not claim, and there is no proof supporting the fact that it was Iran that actually did that. So there is no proof that Iran has ballistic missiles, and there certainly is no proof that they have used them so far.
Which is at the range of 4,000. So you cannot take them at their word. On the contrary, this is why we have to watch them very carefully. And also, they were building a massive infrastructure of missiles. And in their plan was to build 10,000 ballistic missiles with longer range, bigger warheads, more accuracy. 10,000 missiles to be launched on any country could be devastating, and it could be akin to almost a nuclear bomb.
Okay, Iran reportedly removed.
So they don't have nukes, but they have missiles that should be considered or treated as nukes, even though they're not nukes.
Its
Genius.
limits on ballistic
Genius
missiles
move.
only after Israel's bombing campaign during the war last year. Now, as a result of this new threat, hardline voices within Iran are pushing for withdrawal from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It seems as if Israel has, in fact, succeeded in bombing its way into the very scenarios that it claimed it wanted to avoid.
Well, I would say that whether they belong to the non-proliferation or not,
Oh, no, I was correct. He was an ambassador. Okay, he was the Israeli ambassador to the United States,
was beside
which is basically just being an ambassador to yourself.
the point, because no matter what they declared or what they signed on, they did things completely differently. And we
So
saw
just so you know, if he's the ambassador to the U.S., he specializes in propaganda for Americans.
60% enriched uranium, which was a total breach of all the agreements and the NPT. We saw it with a weaponization program that they have, not only the enriched uranium, but how to launch it or how to mount it on a ballistic missile. Very, very dangerous.
A top advisor to Donald Trump, David Sachs, says there was a scenario where you would have to, quote, worry about Israel escalating the war by contemplating using nuclear weapons. So my question to you, would you support Israel using its nuclear weapons?
Well, again,
Clock that smug ass smile he just did, because he's about to tell one of the biggest fucking lies, and then he's about to have his lie exposed immediately after.
this is a very wild speculation. Israel has never, ever committed to any nuclear activities. Quite the contrary. We have said all along, and this is still the policy of every government of Israel, that Israel will not be the first to introduce nuclear weapons to the Middle East.
Fire! Nigga, you got nukes.
So certainly we are not looking that way. And also, Israel has never, ever threatened any other country for total annihilation. So this is a totally different case.
Are you
With
denying?
Iran,
Are you denying that Israel has nuclear weapons?
Yes, I am denying, but I'm not in a position of government right now, so I can say whatever I say. But Israel.
Oh, I'm gonna deny it because I'm not in government right now, and whatever I say is not official statement from the Israeli government. I'm gonna deny they have nukes. But hold on, because I had to record this in two parts. Boop. Boop boop. Boop the scoop.
Problem. Why
Exactly.
won't you say, and why won't you let inspectors in, and why won't you be a part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty?
Okay, so this is a fair question.
Oh, okay, so I cut it out, but he references the nuclear ambiguity.
Ambiguity is a fundamental, I would say, a basis for our national security. If you look at the map, Israel, a very small country, we are less than 1/3 of 1% of the entire Middle East. You
Poor
see
little
all the threats we have
Israel.
around us.
Poor little Israel is so tiny. And we're so tiny. And all these big bad Muslims and Arabs, they're so scary. So we have to nuke everybody. I mean, come on, like get the fuck out of here, bro.
So
Out here, Israel's out here not only committing a genocide in Gaza, they're doing a genocide in Lebanon, also aiding the United States in coordination with the United States in bombing Iran. What other fucking belligerent actor is there in the Middle East?
ambiguity is the only way we can assure that our security and our future are, I would say, are solid.
That doesn't make sense. That literally makes no sense. How would it make your country more secure if your enemy doesn't know whether or not you have nukes? Everyone knows the United States has nukes. Everyone knows that North Korea has nukes. Everyone knows that Russia has nukes. Everyone knows that China has nukes. Those four countries are not being invaded right now. The logic is astounding. I'm still trying to wrap my how do you even rationalize that? I don't know whether or not you have nukes. So I'm not gonna mess with you because you may have nukes. I'm just gonna let you bomb my country and not retaliate because you might have nukes. And how has that worked for Israel now that missiles are getting through the Iron Dome and hitting Tel Aviv and hitting northern Israel? How has it made Israel more secure when Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iran themselves are all working in coordination to bomb Israel directly? Wouldn't it be better if Israel's like, yo, if you bomb my shit one more time, I will drop a nuke on you? I think it's because they want to make as many nukes as possible. They want to make as many destructive weapons as possible without fear of oversight. That's it.
Isn't it hypocritical? I mean, it sounds like jaw-dropping hypocrisy that you, as Israel, would bomb another country because it's allegedly pursuing nuclear weapons, and despite contrary suggestions and counter-arguments from the UN and others, you insist that they have nuclear weapons. When the only country that actually may have nuclear weapons is Israel. That's hypocrisy.
Y'all see why I love this interviewer, bro? She was...
I don't think so. Again, we never said that we have a nuclear weapon. We never said for sure that we're going to use nuclear weapons or to threaten any other countries, which is not the case of the Ayatollahs. And they're trying to submit and subjugate all the people in the countries to their rule, like they did in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Syria, in Iraq. And they will not stop there until they're stopped by somebody has to stop them. And I'm very proud and happy that Israel has the wherewithal to be able to stop it. And by the way, by doing that, we defend not only ourselves, but we defend all the countries in the Middle
We
East.
defend the
Netanyahu
world.
recently expanded the invasion into southern Lebanon. You mentioned that as well, which he says it is to create a security buffer against Hezbollah. At the same time, Israeli officials have openly called for extending Israel's borders. How does Israel justify its illegal territorial expansion to Lebanon?
Well, the justification is on both Article 55 of the Charter of the United Nations, which is called self-defense, and in order to save lives of civilians in our northern border. We see Hezbollah. Again, Hezbollah would not be in existence without Iran. Iran is giving the Hezbollah $1 billion a year. By the way, you
Hezbollah did not exist prior to Israel's war with Lebanon in 1982.
look at the abject conditions of the Iranian population, you wonder why the money is not going to them. And this is also part of the instigation.
There
of
it
a
is,
regime
y'all.
change.
Hold on. I'm gonna play that back again. There is the official Hasbara talking line of the week. Back that up 10 seconds.
Why they think the Hezbollah $1 billion a year. By the way, you look at the abject conditions of the Iranian population, you wonder why the money is not going to them. And this is also part of the instigation of a regime change over there by
Well,
the
you are
population.
spending a lot of money on defense as well. The U.S. is also doing the same. But Article 55 does not allow you to...
U.S. is spending how much exactly? Anybody got that I can't talk, yo. That Iran war tracker, that shit has to be in the $40 billion by now.
Next territory. In fact, the UN Charter, Article 2.4, all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence by any state. What do you say to that? You are violating international
all
law?
I say is, yeah.
She called him in a. I don't know if that was a Freudian slip or just a delay in the broadcast, but when she was like, are you guys committing international war crimes? He was like, yeah.
I do not negate that, and Israel.
I
does
do not
have
negate the
any
fact that we
ambitions
have
or
committed
any
war
territorial
crimes.
claims from Lebanon. So this is why we're very careful to say this is a security zone which will last only as long as Hezbollah is armed. By the way, Hezbollah is the one breaching the international law because all the agreements,
really?
whether it's the
Even though y'all agreed to a ceasefire last year, and how many times has Hezbollah violated versus the state of Israel?
UN Security Council 1701, whether it's internal Taif agreement of all the sections in Lebanon, whether it's the ceasefire.
No, but
Really, just the ceasefire of last November.
Israel violated the November 2024 ceasefire with Lebanon on a near daily basis. Hezbollah had not fired rockets at Israel for almost a year before this war.
But the principle
the principle
of the ceasefire was that the
stumbling.
Hezbollah will disarm. So Hezbollah since November, since the ceasefire, not only they did not disarm, but also they were getting much more building their military capabilities. And we see it now. We see it now as they launch hundreds of rockets over Israel. And the range of these rockets, it covers almost the entire country. No country really can live under the threats of either missiles or nuclear threat from Iran or rockets from Lebanon, which is not the Lebanese government. The Lebanese government, we support the Lebanese government.
I'm sure you. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you support the Lebanese government. But that is all I got for you guys today. If you stuck around this long, oh, wrong filter. There we go. Boom, full face cam. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. I really enjoy making these, and the more of you that like, comment, sub, the more time I'll have to make these. So, see y'all next time. Y'all be good.